Welcome back to Transport Fever 2. We have a huge game update to talk about and some other news. And first of all, no, this is not a sponsored video. I just love this game and want to make sure you all hear about the fact that we just got this major free update, as well as the fact that the game is actually currently 50% off on Steam. So at least in my country, the equivalent of less than 10 euros for such a wonderful game that has a campaign mode, infinite sandbox replayability, and thousands of mods. This is for me such a bargain. If you don't know this game, this is a game with more than 13,000 reviews on Steam with 90% plus positive rate, so you need to be playing it. This is a city building game and a resource management game where you can play with trains, boats, planes, and trucks. I already have on my channel a running series on this game and tips videos. Don't hesitate to check the video description below for the link to that playlist. I'm StratGamer, covering city building, simulation, strategy games with game reviews, updates, let's plays, guides, and more. Don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really does help a lot. But now let's get back to this huge game update. Every few months the game gets a free update, and the spring one that just released doesn't disappoint. New gameplay features, better performance, better usability, and new tycoon elements. I'm going to cover a few of these so that you see them live. We're going to look at some of these updates in the game menus and others directly in-game. In Transport Fever 2, you can create fully customized map easily by changing how big the map is, which climate, the type of resources that you find on the map, but there are many new options now. In the advanced game settings, for each of the map, a new map, but also all maps, you can now fully customize all aspects of the gameplays, in particular on finance and town growth. As you can see, we can change the loan amounts, the loan interest, how much the maintenance cost, but also the town growth. Is it impacted more by public transport, by cargo supply? Is it impacted or not by emissions? You can change it all. In the past, when you would create a game, every single town would have 2 cargo needs, and this will not change for the whole game. Now this will change. This can change. You can change 2, you can decide 2, 4, or up to 6. And what it means is that it will grow with the town. For example, a town can start with only needing food, but then when it expands, it will need food, but also fuel and machines. Similarly, your industries that are not set anymore. Again, before they would sort of appear at the beginning of the map and not move. Now, based on if you're using them or not, industry will close, new ones will open close to your big cities, which will make your game a lot more dynamic, a lot more challenging, a lot more interesting. And what's amazing with all of this is that these are options, right? You can choose, you can play one game with it, without it, you can test them. And again, this is not just for your new games, this is also for all save. And finally, on the game options, the mod support has also been improved with a couple of things. And in particular, you can now create mod preset lists. If you have 5 mods, 10 mods, 100 mods that you always like to use, you can put them in a preset list, and every single game that you start, you can just load this preset list instead of doing one by one sort of manually. So remember, there is a lot of mods for this game on the Steam Workshop. A big change for me is around stations. Your truck stations like you can see here, but also all other stations like your train stations, your airport, and others. Before, to increase the capacity of a station, you had to do something a bit ugly like this, where you would have to extend the length of that station. And you may be wondering why you need long ones. Well, if you have a train that arrives with more than 100 of capacity and delivers it to the station, if you only had a capacity of 80, then you would lose some of these delivery, right? Now you have those 2 new buildings. The small one and the large one. Obviously they cost a bit different. This one will add 25 and this one 75. And these buildings now, so I put a big one and a small one, so 75 plus 25 equal 100, you can see it here. This is shared between the whole station. That will obviously help your gameplay, in particular because this is shared, but it will also help you make this a lot more prettier. Instead of having a long road like this, now we can play with this to make it a bit more realistic. To really create the roads that you want to avoid traffic, we used to have waypoints. We had waypoints for trucks and other vehicles, but not for boats. We can now put these cute little buoys to be used as waypoints for our boats. We also now have way more colors for your line to make sure that you don't have two lines with the same colors. So it's a lot easier to see what's happening in complex stations or cities. You can even create completely custom colors. Now, a big one, dynamic line management. For each of your lines, you will still choose a main terminal. For example, here, this cargo fuel line will come into terminal 4 here. This is my main terminal, but we have a new button here. You can click on it and you'll see all of the other terminals on the station that are highlighted. What does that mean? If I select also terminal 3, for example, it now means that if terminal 4 is busy, it's occupied, then instead of waiting, my train will go to terminal 3. This is obviously huge to simplify your stations, to have less traffic for your train station, but also, once again, airports, truck stations, and all of this. This will impact every type of station, and I hope you can see how used it is. Another small change I really like is if your train are too long, basically if the cargoes are longer than the station itself, the load speed will be penalized, which really makes sense, right? Especially if you think about passenger trains. If the train is longer, you have, for example, passenger cars all the way up here, of course it will take a lot of time for the people that are here to walk across or over here, right? So having that penalty load speed makes sense and will force you to be even more realistic in terms of the size of your train versus the size of the station. There are a lot of other changes, fixed to a number of small bugs, improved performance, more options to choose which notification you want to see, which you don't want to see. And the great thing is that this update has actually been tested by fans in open source for a few weeks. So actually most of the bugs have already been fixed. So you can definitely update your game, play it, you won't have any problems. If you're just discovering this game, don't hesitate once again to check my other video. If you know the game, don't hesitate to tell me if you want to see more of it on the channel. Also, which of these updates you really like. And lastly, don't hesitate to see in the video description below for the full release note that you can see on the page here and the official video release from the game developers. If this video was useful or entertaining, don't hesitate to smash the like button. It really does help me a lot and also helps the YouTube algorithm now to share that with more people out there, more Transport Fever 2 fans. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time.